Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org with a video tutorial for the new Boston. In this video we're going to be looking at the attribute selector, an attribute that belongs to a particular element we can use as a selector. And as an example, I've chosen to create a very short but useful application which will apply functionality to all email fields. Now this is an email field on my page. I've actually got a normal field here as well, just to demonstrate obviously the difference. I've used a selector to select all email fields or all input fields that have a type email. Because I'm using HTML5, you can see that I can use the type email, which has some benefits over text. Has some front-end validation, but what we're doing is we're looking for all fields with the type email, and then we're applying this functionality, and this functionality is a default message. When we click on it, this message disappears. When we navigate away, this message comes back if nothing's been typed. This is something that's found on like the majority of places you have to enter your email address. It might be a subscription to a newsletter at the bottom of your page or something. When I go ahead and type an email address in and then navigate away from this or tab away from this, we have the value remaining. If we leave this empty, we get this enter your email address back again. So as well as going over this particular selector, which has a wide variety of matches, so you can go ahead and look at that in the jQuery documentation, but we're going to look at how we can practically use this on our page. So I'm going to go ahead and open my text editor with no code at all, and we'll start to write this out. Okay, so I'm onto my index.php page. I'm not going to waste time writing this out, but essentially all I have got is a name field here with the input type text, an email with an input type email, because we've just got these little labels on here, and that will produce something like this on your page. So we've got a field here and a field here. I've also given this email field a slightly larger length, just so we can see the text inside of it by default. So now that we've done this, we need to go ahead and include this selectors.js external file. And at the moment there's nothing in that. We're not going to be using style.css, so I can go ahead and get rid of that. So once we've included this, we can start to write some external JavaScript inside this selectors.js file, and that's going to be selecting all input fields with the type email. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and then we're going to go on to look at creating this short but extremely useful application. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is wait for my document to be ready. So I'm going to use document.ready, and inside here we're going to have a function which we'll just bring down, and we can start writing our code in here. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and set a variable with a default message that's going to be placed inside of this box. So we'll do that before we talk about selectors. I'm just going to call this email default, and that's going to be please, or let's just say enter your email address, enter your email address. And it's worth bearing in mind that the way we're doing this will apply it to every email field that you ever create, as long as you have this selectors.js file on your page. So we're selecting, if you were to go ahead and include this functionality on your page, as you go and perhaps create more email fields elsewhere, this functionality will still remain due to the way that we're selecting it. So now we're going to go ahead and use our selector to set a value to this field, and we initially want to set this to the default text that we've defined inside this variable. So here's the selector part. We want to go ahead and select all input types. This just on its own here will actually go ahead and select all input types anyway, but we want to define which email type we want. So we can say input type equals, and then in quotation marks I'm going to say email. So now what we've done with this is we've successfully selected any input fields with the type email. Now it's worth noting that we could do absolutely anything we wanted with this, and we could write it out with other elements as well. For example, if you had links and you wanted to select only links that had a particular href, so a particular link, you could go ahead and say a, where the href is equal to, let's just say, google.co.uk. I'm not sure why you'd want to do this, but you might do. You never know. You might want to turn the link into an image, for example, or something. But essentially, we can use this with really any element. I'm not sure which elements are included and not, or rather which are not. But we can go ahead and use this with anything. So that's the essence of the selector, the attribute selector. So we can select any attribute from any different element that we want. Obviously, in this tutorial, we're looking at all input fields with the type of email. Again, if you wanted to, you could change this to all input fields with a type of text, or all input fields with the type of password, etc, etc, etc. So in our case, it's email. Now the first thing that we want to do is use the attribute function, or whatever you want to call it, to set the value of this to our email default. So this will take two parameters. The first is the value that you want to change, or the attribute that you want to change, and the attribute that I want to change is value, and this changes what you can see inside of the box or inside of the input field, and I want to change this to email default. So we've selected all types, or all input types of email, and appended or given this an attribute value with the email default. So now when we refresh, that text goes straight in there, and notice it doesn't do it for name. If we were, for example, to leave this as input, this will apply to all input fields on the page, so you can see it's been placed into both of them, but we're using this selector for the reason we only want emails to work.